Hakadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Yevamot Daf, Hechal 78a1. We just finished off by saying that according to Rabbi Yochanan, he's saying if it wasn't for the fact that Yehuda says that the Torah is making it also in Leida, which means that even the females are asurot lavubakam, which means even the female mitzriyot, right? Egyptian women are prohibited for coming into the kahal. Lo matay yadav raglav bet midrash, we wouldn't have found the hands and feet in the bet midrash. Because more says kahal gerim yikre kahal, which means the kahal of gerim are called the kahal, and therefore you're not allowed to get married to them. So mitzri sheni v'mayitar. So then, how's the mitzri sheni going to purify his children to become a dor shlishi? If the mitzri rishona v'shniya is permitted to come to the kahal, so therefore it's considered a kahal gamur of gerim, and therefore if it's going to be considered a kahal gamur of gerim, mitzri rishon v'sheni would be prohibited, right? So then, how are they going to become now dor shlishi? You need a female. The female always mutar to go to the kahal. So how does it become then a shlishi? So says the Gemara, no. Maybe if the mitzri sheni came and he got married to a regular bat Yisrael or to a gioret, right? So then his child is mutar lavo bekal because he was over the mitzvah. So says the Gemara, de'i lo katav kra. The Torah does not write a pasuk based upon if somebody comes and does an avirah. You understand? Meaning, if somebody, the Torah's not going to come and base itself upon, you do an avirah. So says the Gemara, what about mamzer? Hare mamzer, de'i, right? Lekat vekra. What about mamzer? Meaning, nobody wants a mamzer, but a mamzer means that the parents did something illegal, did something immoral, and all of a sudden you have a mamzer. So did write it down. So says the Gemara, de'i li surah katav, de'i le teira lo katav. No. If they come and they do something wrong, which is to make a mamzer, that you're right, they did write it down in the Torah. But in a case where now it's going to become permitted, which is basically a mitzvah of dor shlishi, the Torah is not going to write down if they did this, which is like to permit it, so then it's going to be okay. So ask the Gemara, machzir grushato. What's machzir grushato? We know that if right now a person comes and they are married to a woman, they divorce her. Yeah, they divorce her. And then, right, they're allowed, it's a mitzvah, lachzir grushato, to take her back. However, though, what happens if she gets married to another man? So then it's prohibited for him to take her back. So there it says, machzir grushato de'ile teira dekatve. There it was written, lo yuchal bara rishon sheshata lav shulukta ki toevahi. And there we did bring it down. And there it's to do with the heter. So says the Gemara, no, we weren't bringing it down for the heter to get married to her again. Hata mishum ikar yisrael dekatve. There we wanted to make the ikar was not that he could get married to her again. The ikar is that he's not allowed to get married to her if she already got married to somebody else. That was the ikar. The ikar was on the isur, not the heter. Fine. Now another thing to do with the mitzri shlishi. Tan Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Im ne'emar banim, lama ne'emar dorot. It says in the pasuk, banim, this is in the banim, yeah? Banim, asher yivaledu lahem dor shlishi, yavo lahem bikal Hashem. Why does it say banim? And then it says dor shlishi. Why does it say banim and also dorot? Okay, you could have just said ben shlishi yavo lahem bikal Hashem. And if it was said bim ne'emar dorot, say why does it say dor shlishi yavo lahem bikal Hashem without the word banim? Why do I need the word banim for? So in them are banim lo ne'emar dorot. Says the Gemara, if it was only written banim and not dorot, hayiti omer, I would have said ben rishon le'sheni asur, shlishi mutar. The first son and second son is going to be asur v'bikal. The third child, right, is going to be permitted, which means I wouldn't have thought it was generations. I would have thought it was children. Meaning, the Egyptian comes, he gets married. He has first son. First child, no, not allowed to come and be Bikal Hashem. Second child, not allowed. Third child, he's allowed to come Bikal Hashem. Why? Banim, right? No, banim. No, that's why it says dorot. Lekach ne'emar dorot. It's written dorot. If it was only written dorot, it wasn't written banim. Hayiti omer, I would have thought dor shlishi le'otan amdim al Har Sinai. It was only the ones that are on Har Sinai, which means dafka them and their children are going to be asurim and mitzri v'adomi. But bnei bnei, their grandchildren, are going to be permitted even with the ger rishon. The kach ne'emar banim, that's why it's banim all the time, throughout all generations. That's why you have banim and you have dorot. So it says the Gemara, what what does it mean? דור שלישי יבוא להם. מה זה להם? מהם מנה להם הלכה פסולה. What does that mean, lahem? When it says lahem, it teaches you from mehem, you have to count. From the gerim themselves, you have to count it. Lahem is going to teach you halacha psulan. What does that mean? What happens now if a Mitzri Rishon gets married to a Bat Yisrael, or a Yisrael gets married to a Mitzri Rishona? You go after the pasul, and therefore the child is going to become prohibited. Which means that, let's say you have a Mitzri Rishon Shlishi, right? Or it doesn't matter, we're going to Mitzri with a Bat Yisrael, or a Ben Yisrael with a Mitzrit Rishona. You always go up to the psul. You always go up to the defect, and that's how you're going to have to start the count again. You had to write down the word lahem. You had to write down the why? If it was only written as that which was born, I would have thought the same. That you're going to come and you're going to count 3 generations from their children, right? And only from their grandchildren they're allowed to come to Kal Hashem. That's why the Torah says 3 generations from the Gerim themselves. If it would have been written lahem, Hava Mina, right? I would have thought the same. What happens now if she was pregnant and she converts? So she and her child is all 1 generation, okay? And therefore only the grandchildren of the fetus, right, of this baby could now, any leida from the gerut onwards is already considered a 2nd generation, and therefore this mitzrit converts with a child in her stomach, in her womb, that child is already dor sheni. You understand? Because at the end of the day, it's still considered another one. And I had to write lahem. Hacha, over here by the mitzri vedomi, that you go after the psul. Lo, right? And you have to say lo by a mamzer. Because it says, Gam dor asiri lo yavol lo bi kal Hashem. That's through the mamzer can never come into kal Hashem. Di katav rachmana hacha. But it was only going to be written over here by the mitzri vedomi mishum deba mi tipa psula, because it came from a bad tipa. It came from a tipa, from a drop of semen, which was permitted to come to the kahal. But a mamzer, the father was a kosher Jew. He just went with a woman that he was not allowed to go with. But the father was a kosher Jew. So I would say that don't go after the psul. If it was only going to be written low by the mamzer, because he's never allowed to come into the kahal. But here, the dor shlishi, I would say that we don't go after the psul, but since it's only 3 generations, I would say we go after the more lenient one. Sricha, and that's why you need both also by law and also by law. Another halakha by mitzri sheni. Amar Rabbi Elchanan Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Elchanan Rabbi Yochanan. Mitzri sheni shenasa mitzri rishona benas shlishi amar. When you have a mitzri sheni that gets married to a mitzri rishona, so the child is a mitzri shlishi. Why would we go up to the man? Since we're going up to the man, he's a sheni. So his child is shlishi. He got married to a rishona. That doesn't matter. Alma kasaver, so you see from here. But that he goes after him, after the man. So Mativ Rabbi Yosef comes and he says, Rabbi Tarfon says, you know you could purify a mamzer. How do you purify a mamzer? Keitzad. Mamzer shenasa shipcha. If a mamzer gets married to a shipcha kenanit, Havlad Eved, the child is a slave. Shichrero, if he frees him, right? Now he's a free man. And now that free man is allowed to come to the kahal. So Alma, so you see from here, but you go after her, not after him. You understand what you just did? One more time, you have a mamzer. How can you purify a mamzer? You know you purify a mamzer. Tell the mamzer to get married to a shipcha kenanit. Right? You have a non-Jewish maidservant. The mamzer comes and he has relations with one non-Jewish maidservant. No. Look at it's a mamzer. Mamzer is the olam. Who is married here? Here, especially that when the mamzer has a child with a shipcha kenanit, what is that child? That child is not yuchas for him. That child is an eved, like an eved kenani. Now what happens? He's an eved. What do you do when you free that child? Now he's a free man. When he's a free man, he's allowed to get married to a regular Jew. So that means this child of the mamzer, you just purify him. Yeah, only shipcha. So says the Gemara. From this Gemara, you see who do we go after? Him or her? Her. Because here we go after the shipcha kenani, and then the child is an Eved, and then the Eved is going to be freed, and then he's allowed to get married to Kal. So we go after her, not after him. So why are you telling me 2 minutes ago that you go after him? When you have a Mitzri Sheni getting married to a Mitzri Rishona, the child is a Mitzri Sheni. Why would you go after him? Sorry. What are you doing? What are you talking about? You going after him? You go after her. Answers the Gemara. Shane had the different over there by Shipcha Kenani. The Makab is a pasuk says Mefurash. Hayisha viladea tiel viladonea. A Shipcha Kenani, she's 100% belongs to the master, and since she 100% belongs to the master, her and her children belong to the master, not to the husband. That's why it's a special din in the Shipcha Kenani. So Mati Rava is going to ask a question. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says Yehuda, Binyamin get Mitzri. Binyamin was again Mitzri. Hayali Chaver Tabnei Rabbi Akiva was a friend from the students of Rabbi Akiva. The Amar, he says, Ani Mitzri Rishon, Nasati Mitzri Rishona. He's a Mitzri Rishon, got married to a Mitzri Rishona. Right? Astil Ivni Mitzri Shniya. I'm going to get married, my son married to a Mitzri Shniya, in order that the grandchild come to the Kal. Now, these times, if you're going to tell me now, but Redi De Shabil, we always go after him. So Afilu Rishona Nami. 1 second. Why do you have to give the son to a Mitzri Shniya? Give the son to even a Mitzri Rishona, but we always go after the man, not after the female. So Elmaleh Rabbi Yochanan, Letana says Rabbi Yochanan, Tani, you're right. Rishona. You could change the bright that really we're talking about that this Binyamin get Mitzri. He went and he said, no, I could even get married to a Mitzri Rishona, and it's the same halacha. So Kiata Rabbi, when Rabbi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babel Aman, he said, Rabbi Yochanan, right? Said, Mitzri Shenasa Mitzri Rishona, Bena Sheni Avai. When you have a Mitzri Sheni that gets married to Mitzri Rishona, the child is a Sheni, right? And a Sulo Lo Bikal. Alma Sisi from here, but Tarimet Shani Sisi. Then we go after the mother, not after the father. We go after the mother. So Amar Rabbi says, Ella Hadam Rabbi Yochanan, that which Rabbi Yochanan says, he frish chatat meuberet yalda. Imagine right now a person separates a chatat be'ema, right, that she's pregnant. The yalda, and it has a child. He could have a kapara, whether it's in the mother and the child, in the mother and the animal, or the child of that. In either or, he could have a kapara. So says the Gemara, I understand if you're going to tell me that the child is not the mother. So then it's like separating 2 chataot. And therefore, if one of them gets lost, you can do kapara with the other one. And the other one, you put it in the field until it gets a blemish, and then that's it. But if you're going to tell me now that the child, the fetus, is part of the mother, it's considered a blood chatat. And a blood of a chatat goes to death. So therefore, how does he say that you could have a kapara in it? So Ishti, he kept quiet. There's the Gemara Elmaleh. Abaye comes the answers of Dimi. Dinla Shanehata. Maybe it's different over there. The Chtiv is says in the pasuk. Asher yivaledu hakatuv telao beleida. When it says to do the mitzri rishona, mitzri shlishit, and all these things, it says which they're going to have a child. So it's mashma over there that we go after the mother and not after the father. Why do we go after the mother? Because leida, who gives birth? The men or the women? So until today, it's women, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but until today, it's only women. So since it's only women, so therefore we always go after the mother. So Elmaleh comes and he says, Karkafna, right, which means a person that's very chashuv, right, something that's very important. I saw your head between the pillars of the Bet HaMikdash. When he said this, the reason why it says Yeshiv al Du of the Alma, usually, but we go after the father. Rather, Rabbi says, what happens if you have a goya? She comes and she converts. She's pregnant. Bina, the child doesn't need to be la. Why doesn't she need to be la? Why doesn't the child need to be la? The chitem, now you're going to tell me, Mishum the Yitzchak, the Yitzchak says, Devar Torah rubo makpidala, chotzetz, that if you have a chatzitza, which is the majority of the body, and you're makpid on it, then it's a chatzitza, then it's an interruption between the waters of the mikveh and themselves. But if it's rubo sheno makpidala no chotzetz, you're going to tell me now that it's not chotzetz. So if you want to tell me this, there's no chatzitza. Right? Even though the baby is inside the stomach, there's no chatzitza between the baby and the stomach. Ein chetem ubet, yeah, Sami Ebi. The Amar of Kana comes and he says, Lo shanu ela rubo. That's only if it's rubo. Aval kulo chotzet here, the entire baby is inside of the stomach. So you've got a chatzitza and everything. It's not a makpid. you got the entire babies inside the stomach. So for sure it's a chatzitza. So it doesn't help. So answers the Gemara. Shane ubar ubar is different because that's the way it's born. That's the way it grows. So since that's the way it grows, so therefore, even though it's not considered like one of the varim of the mother, it's not considered a chatzitza either, because that's the way it grows inside of the mother's stomach. So Kiata Rabbi and Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi came from Eretz Babel, he said the name of Yochanan, Ba'umot, in Umot HaOlam, halach achar zechar, you go after the male. Nidrairu, but if they convert, halach achar pagum shebeshneim, you go after the pagum in both of them. Okay? So he says, Ba'umot halach achar zechar, how do we know that by the goyim we go after the male? He says, Ketanya, we learned in the Braita, imagine right now you have one of the nations. They had a relation with a woman that she's a Canaanite. Ve'olid ben, and he has a child. How do you know that you're allowed to buy him as an ebed, as a slave? Which means the pasuk permits you taking only from the Canaaniot, right? From the Canaanite, right? As a slave. So I would have thought to say the other way around as well. What happens if you have a male Canaani having relations with a female of another nation? How do you know? And he has a child. How do you know you're allowed to buy him as a slave or not? It has to be that which they're born in your land and not the ones which are living in your land. Why? Because we don't go after the father, right? The Canaani, and you're not allowed to. Okay, so you see from here, right, that these are going to go after the father, the Canaani, and it's a sur, right, to even let them live, because it says lo techayek neshama. So you see from here that over here, this is a proof that in Umot HaOlam we go after the father. That means, for example, Judaism, what do we go after? The mother. The mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. To do a genealogy, to do a lineage of Kohanim, Levim, Israel, that yes, that's the tribes, we go after the father. But to do a Jewish or not Jewish, then we go after the mother. Here, by the Goyim, we go after the fathers. Okay, we go after the father. Fine. Says the Gemara, if they convert, we go after the pagum in both of them. So be mine. What are we talking about exactly? If you're going to tell me they were talking about a mitzri that got married to an amonit, my pagum shebeshneim, what's the pagum? There's no pagum. It says amonit lo amonit. She's allowed to get married to the kalavim. So what's the pagum? There's no pagum. But rather, we're talking about amonit that got married to a mitzrit. So if it's a male, shadi batar amonit, you're going to throw him after an amonit. And if it's going to be a female, you throw him after the mitzrit. That's what it means that we're going to go after the pagum. Everyone understood? There's one more time. You have an amonit that gets married to a mitzrit. Now, the Ammoni is a sur leolam. The mitzrit is only 3 generations. So here it all depends. If it's a male that is born from this union, so therefore, if it's a male, you throw him to the more chamur. Which is more chamur? Ammoni, and then it's forever. If it's going to be a female, you throw him after the more chamur. Because if it was a female, Ammonit is allowed to get married immediately to the Khan. You throw them to the more chamur, which is going to be the 3rd generation. So therefore, we go up to the Padim. Says the Mishnah. Mishnah on Ein Chet Amud Bet. Mamzerim Metirim Asurim Lavo Bakan. We know that Mamzerim Metirim are Asurim. They're not allowed to come into the Khan. V'Yisurani Surulam. It's always prohibited from them. Okay, Chad Zecharim Yechad Yekvot doesn't matter whether it's going to be a male or it's going to be a female. Amar Resh Lakish says Resh Lakish. Mamzeret Lachar Asra Doro Muteret. Says Resh Lakish, a Mamzeret after 10 generations, she's permitted to come into the Kahan. Yalif, because he learns Asiri from Ammoni Umavi. Because there it says, that means after 10 generations of Mamzerim. Let's say you have Mamzerim getting married to each other, right? One after another, 1 generation, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it comes to number 10, if it's a girl, she's permitted to get married into the Kahan. What? They knew already for 10 generations that they're Mamzerim. They kept it. What? They kept it. Again, one minute. Says the Gemara, he learns the Shema from Asiri from Ammoni Moavi. Just like over there, the Nekevot were permitted to come to the Kal. So to over here, the Nekevot are permitted to come to the Kal after 10 generations. So says the Gemara, you're already learning from the Ammonit and Moabit. There, when are they allowed to come to the Kal? Ammonit and Moabit, when are they permitted to come to the Kal? Immediately. They get married. There's a female. Ruta Moabiyah, right? Immediately. So to here immediately. So says the man, no. When does the Gezerah Shava help? Only from the 10th generation onwards. Meaning we are learning Gezerah Shava to the Moabit, but only from the 10th generation onwards. So says the Gemara, What are you talking about? Here it says and it doesn't matter whether it's males or females. It's always a sur. So it says, it's not a question. When we're talking about the Shatish, that he's talking about a mamzeret after 10 generations is going to be permitted, he's going like the mandamar that says, Don minau minah. When you're going to learn a kalachomer, you're going to learn not only the halachot from it, but also all the details from the same halacha. So therefore, since the ikar of the isur of mamzer after 10 generations, you learn it from Gzera Shava from Amoni Moavi. So therefore, we're going to go and learn from Amoni Moavi that after generations is going to be permitted. But according to the mandamar, which is the other way around, Domina Vukivitra, you're learning the ikar halacha. The ikar halacha, but you're not learning right, but you're learning the details from the right where it is the regular halacha. So therefore, the ikar of the isur of mamzer is after 10 generations. We learn it from Gzera Shava from Amoni Moavi. But afterwards, we come and we learn the mamzer itself. The mamzer itself is always a sur. So that's why, according to that, don't mina, learn from it, but oki batra, but you're going to place it in the same place, it's always going to be a sur. Okay, next. Shalot Rabbi Yezer, they asked Rabbi Yezer, mamzer la'achar asara dareh, mao. What happens after 10 generations from mamzeret? Permitted or not? Amalehem yiteli dor shlishi v'ataren. Give me the third generation, how we're going to purify that, right? Alma Kasavas, we see from here, Mamzera Lochaye, the Mamzerim, they do not die, which means the Mamzerim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it that they should die and not have children, in order that there shouldn't be so many Mamzerim amongst Klal Yisrael, and it's going to contaminate Klal Yisrael. The Cherem Ravuna also says the same thing, Mamzera Lochaye, the Mamzer is not going to live. So says the Gemara, 1 second, it says the Yisurim Yisurim, which means obviously there's children, grandchildren, and they're always prohibited. Some Rabbi Zera says Rabbi Zera they explained to me the idea Chaye. If you know that he's a mamzer, he will live. Why? Because since you know, you won't get married to him. So for there's no purpose of it dying. The la idea, if you don't know about it, la Chaye, they won't live. The idea what happens if some people know and some people don't know? Atlata dare Chaye, until 3 generations they will live. More than that, they won't live because then it could be forgotten completely, and then it's going to be a big problem. Okay, somebody that was going to be in the vicinity of Rabbi Ami, the neighborhood. So he went to see the mamzer. Have a box and so he was crying. Says Rabbi Ami, what are you talking about? I give you life. What does that mean? Right? The fact that I went and I mentioned your mamzer, you really meant you were supposed to die in Hashemayim. Right? In order that you shouldn't get married to a Bat Yisrael Kishna. But now that I went and I announced your mamzer, now you're going to live. So I give you life. So Amar of Chana Barada says, Netinim, David Gazalamehem. The Netinim was decreed by David Amelech. When David Amelech decreed on the Netinim, they can't get married to the college. The Imam says in the Suk, they're not from the Israel. So my time, why did he make a decree on them? What does it mean that there was a famine for 3 years after the year? The first year he told them, maybe you guys are going. And it says, but they weren't able to find, right, amongst Bnei Israel. The second year, he told them, maybe you guys are doing but they weren't able to find them. It's basically because they were doing avirot of arayot, right, of the moral relations. Right, they were going with all these immoral relations. That's why there was no rain. Shlishit, they checked, there was nothing. The third year, he said, they don't see. Maybe you guys are saying that you're giving money to tzedakah and you don't give. You know how many people they are that they come and they say, yeah, we're going to give tzedakah, and then what happens? They never give it. They have a big mouth, but they never give it. They don't fulfill. So he says over here, that's when famine starts. Tichtiv, Nesim v'ruach v'geshem ish mitalel b'matat shaker, right? But Kublo Matsu, they couldn't find it. So Amar, and the so it has to do with me. Miyad immediately v'vakesh Rabbi Pnei Hashem, he started praying to Hashem. What is that? He asked the Urim to me. My mashma had you. Rabbi Lazar says, "Lazar tepnei pnei." It's written Gzera Shava pnei pnei, because it said right now v'vakesh Rabbi Pnei Hashem, right? And it's written over there. Uchtivatam mishalet lo mishpat ha'urim lifnei Hashem. So pnei Hashem. Vayomer Hashem and Shaul, so comes Hashem and tells to Shaul, it was because of Shaul it was because of Shaul and Bet Adamim that they killed the Gibonim. El Shaul, what was Shaul? Shelon Ispat Kalachat. They didn't do a proper eulogy for him. Fel Bet Adamim, what does it mean the Bet Adamim? Yeah, he says over here, he killed out the Givonim. So says the Gemara, where did Shaul kill the Givonim? And Amitoch Sharag Novira Kohanim, right? They killed Novira Kohanim. And the Givonim were Masvikim Mayim Mazon. The Givonim were the ones that were giving bread and water to them. So Malay al Katuv, Kilu Aragat. So it's like as if that he killed them. You understand what happened? Meaning the Givonim, their job was to give the water carriers and everything to Novira Kohanim. Once Shaul killed Novira Kohanim, that was their basis for Parnasah. So that's it. There's no more Parnasah for them. So therefore he killed them as well. So not only did he kill Novira Kohanim, he killed them as well. So Katava el Shaul. So he was Tovia Shaul. Shalom Ispak Kalacha. The Katava Sheni to Kohanim. So he says, you see from here, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be Tovia Kavod Shaul and also on the Givonim. Says, yes, why? The Amar Shakish says, Shakish might if you was reading the Pasuk, Bakeshu et Hashem Kolam Be'eretz, Asher Mishpato Paulo, Ba'asher Mishpato Sham Paulo. In the place where you're going to judge the person, that's when they're going to mention his good deeds. Which means in the same place where he's going to judge, right, Shaul on his sins against the Givonim, he's also going to say good that they didn't eulogize. Let me think about what's happening here. Hashem is punishing Bnei Israel twofold. One, for Shaul that they didn't eulogize him, which means that look, they had to eulogize Shaul, right? The greatness of Shaul. But then it's Shani on the fact that he killed Novira Kohanim, and therefore he killed the Givonim. In the same judgment. He's saying, Kol HaKavod, look at Shaul, right? That they should have come and they should have actually eulogized him. He was a bit tzaddik. I mean, Shani, look what the guy did. Shaul went and he killed the Givonim. So the same mishpat, on the same judgment, he's saying the positive and the negative, right? So Bnei Yisrael were punished twofold, right? You could have said, listen, if right now Bnei Yisrael were punished because Shaul killed the Givonim, so I understand. But then you're going to punish them also that they didn't give the stead to Shaul, eulogy to Shaul. Obviously, you're not going to eulogize Shaul. Look what he did, he killed the Givonim. But no, in the same mishpat, you have two different things, for the good and for the bad. So Amar David says, David, Shaul nafka lahu, right? One second, Shaul had already passed 12 months. You're not going to start doing his sped after 12 months. So the Tinim, we could come and we could actually appease them. So they went and they appeased them, and by appeasing them, he was able to actually appease them, and therefore there was no problem. Obviously, we're going to see tomorrow how we're going to do with the sped of Shaul HaMelech.